The bright side of addiction is recovery. And addiction is a chapter, not the entire story. Turn the page. Hi, everyone. I'm Neil Scott, and if you're new to our podcast, by golly, we welcome you. If you've been here before, hey, welcome back. And if you are in recovery, or know or love someone who is, or you simply want to know more about the recovery process, or maybe you're a bit concerned about someone you know or love who is harmfully using alcohol or any other drug, well, this is the podcast for you, as we carry the message of hope and the promise of recovery. And a reminder that you can find all of our podcasts at recoverycoasttocoast.org. Recent episodes have featured interviews with authors Claudia Black, Anne Lamott, sports agent Lee Steinberg, Grammy Award winner Bonnie Raitt, and many, many more. Plus conversations with everyday people in long-term recovery, sharing their story, their insight, and their path. Now, in this edition of Recovery Coast to Coast, I want to take you back quite a few years when I had the opportunity to interview the very talented Rufus Wainwright, the son of Loudon Wainwright III, and an amazing musician in his own right. He shares his journey of one day at a time recovery, plus some words from actor John Goodman. John Goodman talks about how he wound up going into treatment. My conversation with Rufus Wainwright is coming up next. Our website is recoverycoasttocoast.org, and if you'd like to help us out financially, or you know of a foundation that might be interested in underwriting part of our program, we'd be ever so grateful. A reminder that our email address is recoverycoasttocoast@comcast.net. We'd love to hear from you. Recovery Coast to Coast is supported by Sundown M Ranch, one of America's oldest, least expensive, and most successful treatment programs. They're listed in Newsweek magazine's recent list of America's top treatment providers. You know, going into treatment is really a big step, and a step that, frankly, can save a life, can save a family, can save a career. Alcoholism and drug addiction can be successfully treated. And Sundown M Ranch in Yakima, Washington, they've been doing that for nearly 60 years. With an exceptionally well-trained and compassionate staff, and they'll put together a team to ensure that an individual has the best possible chance at long-term recovery. They'll give you all the tools and guide you along the path for both the individual and their family, because alcoholism is a family disease, and it's essential that the family go through a treatment program like the one at Sundown to understand the disease. You see, recovery doesn't end after treatment. Recovery just begins, because recovery is a lifetime, long-time adventure filled with grace and gratitude. I've advised hundreds of listeners, friends, and even relatives to go to Sundown M Ranch. They are one of the least expensive programs around. They are a not-for-profit organization, and they take most insurance plans. They're not in this to make money. When it comes to treatment for addictive disease, do your homework. But please, please include Sundown M Ranch in your research. Their success over nearly 60 years speaks for itself. If you go to their website, sundown.org, you can get a whole lot more information, as well as look at some photos of their facility. They're on 30 acres at the mouth of the Yakima River Canyon. It's where recovery begins, sundown.org. Well, it is coffee and conversation time again. A conversation that I had a number of years ago with the amazing Rufus Wainwright. He's been nominated twice for Grammy Awards. He's won 2 prestigious Juno Awards presented to popular singer-songwriters. He comes from an incredibly talented musical family. His dad is Loudon Wainwright III. His sisters are singer-songwriters Martha Wainwright and Lucy Wainwright Roach. I caught up with Rufus inside of his trailer at a big event in New York City honoring recovery a number of years ago.
Recovery Coast to Coast in New York City for the big recovery rally. It is the Recovery Project sponsored by A&E, and joining us in this segment is Rufus Wainwright. It's interesting because Rufus's dad, Loudon Wainwright III, just has a new CD out called Recovery, which oddly enough has nothing to do with recovery, but you have a lot to do with recovery. Welcome to the program.
Thank you. It's an honor to be here.
How long have you been in recovery, Rufus?
Well, you know, I went to rehab about 6 or 7 years ago. I can't remember, and so it's you know, and I've had my ups and downs with it. You know, presently I'm working it, and it's been great, but it's. Yeah, it's been about that much time, and you know, once they, as they say, you know, once you open that can of worms, you can't put it back. So it's been great, but challenging as well, of course.
You know, this walk across the bridge today, the bridge being a good metaphor for recovery, people walk over the bridge. What was your bridge to recovery? What got you into recovery? Did you go into treatment?
Yeah, I went to Hazelden, and I don't know. I grew up. I have a history of there's a history of addiction in my family, especially on my father's side. I mean, my grandfather had 10 years before he died, and there was, you know, I have uncles and aunts who are involved with the program. So it's been a long time. I've been aware of it for a long time, and I don't know. I really had that. I wouldn't say white light moment, but that real sort of spiritual awakening when I kind of hit this spot that no human power could aid me, and it became about, you know, a higher ground. I needed higher spiritual ground, and I went and sought it. So it was really dramatic, but you know, good.
Rufus Wainwright joining us for a few moments tonight on Recovery Coast to Coast. What has been one of the highlights of your recovery up to this point?
Well, I mean, my main highlight is that now, after having some time, I've really been able to put in motion all these huge projects that I've dreamt of since I was a child. For instance, I'm writing an opera which is being premiered next year in England in July, and then I'm also writing a song cycle based on the Shakespeare sonnets with the great Robert Wilson, the theater director, and I get to do that. And then at the same time, I'm still, you know, keeping up my pop work, and it's just sort of the boundless energy that I've received, and the gift that I have is able to shine and able to complete its mission, and that's just been so great. Because I mean, certainly in the pop world, there's just countless examples of all these kind of really stunted talents, you know, people who really showed so much promise and were so incredible, and because of drugs and alcohol, they just were never able to really fulfill their artistic greatness, and I'm not saying that I'm totally there yet, but it's definitely within my grasp, and just with hard work and dedication, it'll happen. I won't have there's no kind of landmines along the way.
How has your music changed since you've been in recovery?
I don't know if it's changed so much. My thing, my kind of positive message with music and recovery is that, yes, you know, it's often the case that you know, songwriters especially have to go to the dark side and reside in the, you know, hell for a while to kind of come up with their artistic angle, and that I can understand, because I've been there and done that. But the greater challenge is to get over that and to rise above it and write music and songs that deal with survival and deal with you know, enlightenment, and that's, and I think that's that's a harder challenge, and I'm excited to, you know, to tackle it, because I like challenges. So.
I know one of your heroes was Judy Garland, and she certainly had her battles with addiction.
Yeah, no, Judy is a sort of poster child of kind of what not to do. But I would say that you know, in speaking with people like Lorna Luft, especially her daughter, that she really, she wasn't given the opportunity, and she never really, and that she really, she would have been so amazing if she had the chance to settle her scores, but I think that in a weird way too, even though she was so screwed up in a way, you can hear her trying to reach for the light, and it is a good example of kind of like, no matter how far you go down, there's always hope, and there's always this desire to live, and she really represents that.
You certainly put a face and a voice to recovery, Rufus. I thank you for your time tonight.
Thank you.
I'm Neil Scott, the program Recovery Coast to Coast. We're going to take a short time out. We'll be back with more right after this.
Well, I hope you enjoyed my conversation with Rufus Wainwright, who celebrates recovery with a great hallelujah. In fact, I've included in the podcast notes a link to Rufus celebrating with hallelujah. By the way, I want to remind listeners of this podcast, if you would like to tell your story of recovery, regardless of the path you've chosen, and as long as you have been in continuous recovery for 1 year or more, do drop us a note, recoverycoasttocoast@comcast.net. Coming up next, actor John Goodman, winner of multiple acting awards, including a Primetime Emmy, a Golden Globe, and a Screen Actors Guild Award. He is a person in long-term recovery. He's going to share some thoughts on his going into treatment. We'll do that in just 60 seconds.
She has always been your baby, but when your daughter got into drugs and alcohol, she turned into a stranger. What do you do? Where do you turn? Contact Sundown M Ranch. Sundown's nationally recognized youth treatment program guides young people back to a life free of drugs and alcohol. All treatment is gender-specific and directed by caring certified professionals in a safe environment. You can get your daughter back and get to know her again. Go to www.sundown.org to learn more.
And now, as promised, let's hear from award-winning actor John Goodman, perhaps best known for his role as Roseanne Barr's husband in the hit TV show Roseanne.
I thought I was fooling people. My cheeks would turn bright red when I was liquored up, and I just looked like a stop sign. It had been a long weekend playing golf with friends. By the time Sunday morning rolled around, I was shaking. I was still drinking, but I was still shaking. I called my wife, and she made some phone calls. We got me into a treatment center, and I detoxed there and decided I liked the feeling. The fact is, I was drinking at work.
Well, that wraps up this edition of Recovery Coast to Coast, the national podcast. If you've enjoyed our podcast, please share it with at least one other person. You can also share it on social media. That'd be great. You can find all of our podcasts at recoverycoasttocoast.org. And if you'd like to get in touch, our email is recoverycoasttocoast@comcast.net. Also, please hit the subscribe or follow button. It's free, and you'll be notified the next time we publish a podcast. Remember, September is celebrated as National Recovery Month, but in reality, every month should be National Recovery Month. Now, if you're considering treatment for a friend or a loved one, be sure to visit the NAATP site, naatp.org/AID. That's the Addiction Information Directory. It's the list of those treatment programs that adhere to the strict ethical guidelines. There are hundreds of them. One of them is Sundown M Ranch, but there are many, many others as well. And join us next time for America's Voice for Recovery, Recovery Coast to Coast, the national podcast. And another shout-out to our sponsoring organization, the good folks at Sundown M Ranch, where recovery begins. Sundown.org. I'm Neil Scott, reminding you to stay healthy, live in gratitude, and be kind to one another. Remember, the bright side of addiction is recovery. Pass it on.